welcome to Beyond Reproach. I'm Stephanie Domingo.
I'm Tux.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't get in early enough, that doesn't make any sense.
No, that was just scary.
Wow.
So we went to this event in Greenwood Cemetery last night. It was kind of like a circus / variety show. There was a lot of old-timey music.
There's like a jazz band in the middle of the cemetery.
Oh, it was amazing.
At night.
We watched this really interesting, what would we call that? It was a dance with feathers.
Dance, yeah. It was like
it was almost like burlesque, but like everyone kept their clothes on and it was confusing.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah. It was burlesque, but nobody took their clothes off.
But after it ended and it's completely silent and this one man says, "Wow."
But like way louder than that. Everyone was like
it was so funny because it was such a real wow that I instantly started laughing to myself, and I eventually had to walk away because I was afraid that I was going to start cackling at that man just enjoying himself.
It was so good.
It was very sweet of him. So we be drinking and we be swearing.
We do.
This is a show where we read listener mail on specific topics related to American history, politics, and culture. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of feedback this episode. A lot.
Our cup runneth over.
Yeah. We got a lot of voice messages because I asked specifically, like, we need voice messages. Send them in. So we got one. Our first one comes from Josh at the Bloody Beaver podcast. I am obsessed with his podcast. It's about the Wild West from a historical perspective, and it's just really funny. He is, as you will hear, a hilarious man. Super Southern. He recently told me that he didn't realize that he had a Southern accent until he started a podcast. And I'm like, have you never left Texas?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is Josh.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Josh from Texas. In regards to your last minisode, let me first say I love Tux's lack of profanity. Oh my heck, what the golly gee. Very wholesome. And it makes me feel like the disgustingly angry, profane man that I am. The anonymous veil y'all mentioned is very, very real. Good on Tux for telling that troll that he's a real person. People get online and say the most vile, mean things, shit they would never ever say to your face in like a million years, and that's why I hate reading fucking comments. That's why I hate social media. I feel like the type of person that leaves negative comments online is basically just lacking in their own personal life. You know, they're empty on the inside. They don't like who they are, so they project that bullshit back on you just by being an asshole through that anonymous veil. And as far as my social media goes, I only use it now just to promote my podcast. I don't have any personal social media accounts anymore. And I think that's definitely beneficial to being a happier person. And technology is definitely a double-edged sword. I mean, I joke about it all the time, but we have the entire sum of human knowledge at our fingertips. The great philosophers, historians, thinkers, you can teach yourself literally anything online. But we tend to spend a little bit too much time on Pornhub or Twitter or Facebook posting those dank memes. I've definitely toyed around with the idea of switching back to a flip phone, but I don't know. Hadn't happened yet. Anyway, y'all did a great job. Once again, it was another episode that made me wish I was there in person so I could just hop in on the conversation. And Stephanie, hope you got the support you were looking for on Laundry Day. Keep up the good work, y'all. Later.
Wow. Rude. I can't believe he came for me too. I was like giggling when he came for you. I'm like, yeah, holy heck. Look. I'm like, oh, me, sad. I'm wearing a sports bra again, but it is one with real support, so there.
You always podcast on Laundry Day. It's Laundry Day again today.
Yeah. I was supposed to do it yesterday, and, life got in the way.
That happens.
So we are going to read an email from our listener, Annie. Friend of the pod, Annie.
Mm-hmm. Number one fan
from my hometown, but I don't know her. It's so weird. I mean, my town is small, but it's not that small.
Yeah, we know her now.
Yes, and she knows my dad. It's a small town in that way. Okay. Hi, Tux and Stephanie. After hearing the latest minisode about technology, I debated writing in again. Sometimes I feel as though I live in a parallel life when it comes to the podcast. Recently, I was having a discussion with my husband about getting a Kindle Fire tablet for our soon-to-be 2-year-old son at Christmas time. It all started when I was scrolling through the deals of the day on Amazon. Truth be told, I was 50-50 on the idea of my 2-year-old having a tablet. I don't like it because, well, obviously no 2-year-old should have a tablet. I don't want my toddler to be looking at the screen all day, ignoring us, absorbed in cartoons, and become who kids are nowadays, ignorant. But then I weighed the pros. I can only put educational apps on it, limit his time on the device. It has a kid-friendly case. He won't take it anywhere. It stays at home. And somewhat importantly, it keeps him in the now. She has that in quotes. I don't want to be that parent who says no to technology and advancement, but I also don't want an ignorant child. Plus, my mother and aunt watch him while I work. Each of the other children in care, age range from 3 to 9, have a tablet. And my aunt puts on Peppa Pig. She puts in quotes, "Help me." Peppa Pig is so cute.
I've never.
It's annoying. Oh, you've never seen it?
I mean,
of course. I mean,
yeah.
You're an adult. You're a grown man. I've only seen it with my niece and nephew.
Yeah. I don't get to see my nieces and nephews very often.
Yeah,
so.
and they're older.
Yeah.
Yours are older.
Yeah.
It's a little British pig that like snorts all the time. It's so adorable.
I feel very attacked right now.
Oh God, where was I? Peppa Pig in quotes. There we go. Okay. He is already accustomed to tablets, whether I want him to be or not. So what should a parent do? Another side of this is a lot of schools now operate on tablets and laptops. One of the requirements this year for a kindergartner was to have headphones to plug into a laptop and or tablet.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That's insane.
Would she say kindergarten?
Kindergarten. It's like instead of colored pencils, bring in headphones.
I remember when I first got like to use a computer in school, it was like a big deal.
Yeah, computer lab.
Yeah.
This is actually scaring me now. Now as I read, I'm like, now I'm scared. Okay, what kind of parent am I to say no to technology and advancement? No matter what I choose, I will be judged. So I think we're buying the Kindle. Am I myself addicted to technology? You betcha. Most of it is social media. If I don't keep up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, I feel left behind. I don't know what is happening with anyone or anything anymore. A good example of this is when I took a month away from Facebook. When I logged back on, it took me 3 whole days to realize my best friend from high school, whom I had just rekindled a friendship with 4 months prior, had passed away suddenly of heart failure.
Oh my God.
Oh,
That's awful.
I should really read these emails before I read them live. Holy shit. I'm sorry for your loss. That's insane.
It's terrible. Oh my God.
Now I make a point to check it at least twice a week, even if I have nothing important to say. Not to make this any more lengthy, but our world literally runs on technology. So like it or not, the world is evolving alongside technology, and social media runs it all. It's the same battle we've always been fighting: adapt or be left behind, survival of the fittest. Ironic that we need to use our vices to listen in about said vices. Hashtag no filter. Annie. P.S. I worked up the nerve to follow Tux on IG. Your cakes look fantastic, and I don't even like cake.
Yay.
They taste even better than they look, and I do like cake, so.
Yeah.
So that's saying something.
I like cake a lot. Too much. Yeah, that's a crazy... I mean, like, a tablet for a 2-year-old.
2-year-olds.
I've always thought of myself as, like, if I do ever have
2-year-olds
kids...
are barely just talking.
I know. I always think of myself as, like, I'm not even going to let my kids watch TV. They're going to watch, like, nature documentaries, and that's it.
Yeah, no,
then,
I'm going to be that one as well.
But then you say that, and then you have a kid, and you're like, oh, shit, okay. Go watch fucking cartoons. Get out of my face.
Yeah, that's real. So we have another podcast friend who has lent their voice by sending in a voice message. We have a message from Aaron from the Third Wheel podcast.
I love how many podcast people send in messages this time.
I'm making friends on Reddit, you guys. My mom would be so proud. My mom still reads me about not having friends as a child.
Really?
She's like, all the friends you made were people who just wanted to be friends with you, and you never said no. And I'm like, that is accurate. But I'm making friends, Mom. See?
Hey, my name's Aaron, and I'm a pretty heavy tech user. When I was about 14 or so, I started my own YouTube channel doing tech reviews and unboxings. That lasted for about 3 videos or so before I stopped, unfortunately. I also remember saving up all my birthday and Christmas money for years just to buy my first computer. That's how much I loved all of it. And that passion just kind of progressed and ended up with me now actually being a computer science graduate, now working as a web developer, and recently started my own podcast. In fact, both myself and my co-host are computer science graduates. So my life pretty much revolves around tech, and I feel like it always has done. Not really sure where I'd be without it. Doing a computer science degree and working in the industry I do, you have to use it all the time, and you have to use it successfully and enjoy it to a certain degree. And I do enjoy it most of the time, but you use it so much, it can also be a real pain when it's not doing something you expect it to do. As a web developer and designer, it really depends on kind of what you're making and if you're enjoying the project you're working on. Through this role, I've been able to meet so many people, have clients up and down the UK, which is where I'm from. And just the last year, I've actually been working in San Francisco, Silicon Valley and New York. So it's really opened up everything for me. One thing I have to deal with though, and it's used to annoy me growing up, was when every family member and friend would come to you for any sort of technical problem. And trust me, it happened a lot, and for the smallest things, which just used to drive me up the wall. Especially when everything I did was exactly just what Stephanie said, and you pretty much learn everything from YouTube. If I wanted to know or fix something or learn something, first instance to get on YouTube and search for how to blah, 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 blah. Social media, on the other hand, I guess isn't needed as much for me personally, but still use it a fair bit. But it's now more of a communication tool than anything else, just to keep in touch with people and promote some work I've done and share the new podcast, of course. I think a break could be nice, but I've never felt that I've used it so much to the extent it's been really bad for me or bad for my health, which I think is probably the main thing. If anything, I think it just makes my life that little bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to see the point of view of a younger person. Not that we're old per se, but like...
I'm old.
He's a different generation.
Yeah, he's 23, and he has his whole life ahead of us. Just kidding.
No, I just think it's like...
I think growing up and always having the internet is different.
Yeah.
Like, it's always been there as a tool, and it's, I guess, about how you use it.
Yeah, it is also interesting the way he's saying he doesn't really use social media that much, which I think is probably why he doesn't feel burnout. Yeah,
I agree. That he's just using it as needed to promote the podcast and to like communicate with people as you should.
Yeah, we were around when social media was first like coming up. Yeah, and there was a point where it was wild. We were on it all the time, constantly. I like when Facebook before Instagram. When there was still MySpace.
Do you remember chat rooms? Do you remember?
I never really got into chat rooms. I remember them. I would like get into them with friends.
Getting hit on by 40-year-olds when you're 12. Yeah.
I would go to my friend Megan's house and we would like do it together. Like I would sit at her computer and we would but we always pretended to be somebody else, and you know what I mean? Which is what most people were doing in chat rooms, I think. Yeah. I used AOL a lot though, especially in college when I like didn't know anyone yet.
Like age, sex, location?
No. Just like to like communicate with friends.
AOL? What do you mean though?
Like the instant messenger.
AIM.
It's not AOL. Sorry.
AIM. Yes. I use AIM a lot.
God, I'm old.
I know. I'm just like, AOL? What do you mean?
The dial-up. With the little CD. Yes. Okay, Tim, cut all that.
Yes, please. We're not that old.
But yeah, it's interesting. And like... Yeah, if you're not using social media all the time, I can see why you wouldn't feel burnt out. And if you're using technology for a specific purpose, but not just like, you're not just on it just because it's there.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Aaron is doing shit. So he's not just on there getting into fights on Twitter.
Next, we have a message from our friend Rachel at the #History podcast. We've talked, I don't know if we've talked about them on air, but we've definitely shouted them out on our social media before. They have sort of a similar podcast to ours. They do a lot of history, not necessarily political scandals and not just specifically American history, but they always pick the best topics. Yeah. It's always stuff that I want to know more about. They had this really interesting episode on Chappaquiddick that was like, I might need to do that sometime.
Yeah, and they have a really good like rapport with each other. I'm very new to listening to Aaron's podcast, The Third Wheel, but him and his co-host Hamish, it's just like two guys having fun, like two friends talking about like whatever comes into their mind. And it's called Third Wheel because they invite a friend on. Awesome. To just talk about whatever. And it's so fun. Cool. But yeah, here's Rachel from #History.
Hey, Beyond Reproach. This is Rachel over at the #History podcast. I know you guys are doing an episode soon about, I guess almost the evils of technology, which I say that with a grain of salt because I am so grateful for technology and the amazing advances that we have had in technology. I mean, truthfully, where would we be if not for all these technological advances? I know for myself, I'm grateful for my phone for, a million and one reasons, some of which include being able to check out Facebook anytime I want. But most of those are just the access to family. And, if anything were to happen in my family, I am so grateful that everyone is always just a phone call or a text message away. So I do really love that about technology, and I'm so grateful. But I do have a particular story that comes to mind about the evils of technology. I used to work a very stressful job for a very busy, very large government organization. And as I promoted through the ranks, there was greater expectation that because as I promoted, I became an exempt employee. So there was greater expectation that you were available at all times, no matter when, always on the clock pretty much. And that went for even when my family, we had a family emergency. This is about a year or so ago. We had a pretty major family emergency, and I was sitting there in the emergency room with my baby sister while she was being treated, and I had my laptop and was responding to work emails while I was there in the ER with my family. And that was a big wake-up call for me, not just about the job. Obviously I needed to shift priorities and shift the job, but it was also a wake-up call about technology. Why did I have my laptop on me 24/7? Why did I check my phone every 6 seconds to make sure my boss hadn't emailed me or an attorney hadn't emailed me? And it really kept me in a very anxious state because I was always checking my phone and I was always checking my emails, and there would be a certain kind of palpitation that would go on in my heart anytime I saw I had a work email. And it could even be a good email, but just because I had seen that it had come from my work account, all of a sudden I would start getting anxious and nervous. And this was at all times. This was on a Saturday at 2:00. This was on a Monday night at 10 p.m. And like I already shared, this was even while my family was going through a pretty hard time and we were in the emergency room. Here I was working because technology is so accessible, and so it has for some jobs it has become an assumed is that the word I want? It's become an assumption and almost a requirement of the position that you are attached to your phone or your laptop at all times. Anyway, I hope that gave some light kind of to my own personal experiences with technology, and awesome job with this episode, you guys. I can't wait to see what you put together.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's crazy. I feel that anxiety too. Because I work from home. Yeah. I have a hard time kind of shutting down. Yeah. And so
because you're essentially at work right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm in the office.
Yeah.
So as I've had this job for longer, I try to just tell myself okay, it's after a certain time.
Yeah.
You're not on the clock.
Yeah.
I will switch my email accounts on my phone so that I don't get the alerts. When I log into my email,
I'm not seeing
work emails and stuff.
Yeah, that's smart.
But it's still, if I do happen to see a work email, especially if it's something from my boss, I get so I need to know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
When half the time it's nothing important whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I feel that. And the stuff about not even being able to shut down when something really bad is going on is that's real. That's, it's fucked up.
Yeah. It's because we just get into these routines.
Yeah,
and we don't even think about it. We're on autopilot. It's I always have my laptop with me. I always have my phone with me.
Exactly.
I'm always checking my phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to be really good about more on when I'm out of town or I'm on vacation or something, I'm like, I'm done. Goodbye.
Yeah. When I go on vacation, people know now that I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
You can text me if it's an emergency, and then I will look at something, but I will be back.
Yeah.
Like, everything can wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no one's going to die.
Yeah. Well, I mean she doesn't exactly say what her job was, but like, it sounds like probably not life or death, but I'm sure it was like important things that she needed to pay attention to. But like, there is a point where it's like, okay, something is going on and y'all can figure it out.
Yeah. I'm in the ER right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, deal with it yourself.
All right. So we have another email from Diana, who is actually a good friend of ours. Diana writes in, Dear Tux and Stephanie, thank you for all of your awesome pods to date. Your content keeps me laughing, which we all need these days. I've been meaning to write into you for too long, but life. Mm-hmm. This week, I did an interborough move. She just moved from Manhattan to Brooklyn.
Where she belongs.
And I was left waiting for an internet installation visit for 3 days. All that kept me plugged into the real world and to my sanity while stuck amongst a mountain of moving boxes was my phone. And that one tiny screen was hell. Brain surgeons say that cell phone usage causes cancer.
What do they know?
Yeah. You don't know my brain. But we carry on. Headphones or no. They say that we should charge our phones far away from our bedrooms or unplug the internet entirely when we go to bed, but we don't. I know I don't. I actually have stopped plugging my phone in next. I used to have it on my night table.
Yeah, mine I put it in the bathroom.
Oh.
Yeah. Just because I live in a studio and there's no other.
Yeah. There's nowhere else to put it.
I mean, I could have put it on my desk, but I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
And if it's in the bathroom, I don't see it. So
she says, sometimes I catch myself bringing 3 screens to my spacious bedroom in this new place of mine, which can surely accommodate 3 screens or 4 with the TV. I know deep down inside it's unnatural and it's not a good habit to get into, but I still do it. And we've all heard about how screen time diminishes our melatonin production and disrupts our sleep. But so what? I'm already an insomniac.
We'll sleep when we're dead.
Exactly. We just turn on the night shift so our screen glows yellow instead of blue. At some point in my Silicon Valley career, the line blurred between when you shut down for the night and relax and when you work, especially in the corporate follow the sun model where everyone needs to show how committed you are to success.
Yes.
Then social media and Facebook and the gram were born. There's no stopping us now. Nobody ever taught us good tech habits in school since we were the first generation to launch and experience all this tech. One friend who works at a top Manhattan law firm told me stories about how associates at his firm would sleep with their phones under their ears on their pillows, eager to not miss any opportunity to be assigned to an urgent late-night project in the hopes of earning goodwill amongst the firm's partners. That's crazy.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it. It makes sense. Not that I know like Manhattan law world, but I can sort of understand why they're doing this, but that's a lot.
That's intense.
If that's what you need to
like my dad is an OBGYN, like babies come at all hours of the night. He's not sleeping with his phone under his head.
Yeah. She goes on to say, Stephanie and Tux, how do we balance our health and happiness with how often we're online? And how many more hours can I log browsing Pinterest and Amazon without affecting my mental well-being? How many hours can I spend online working if I should be working as much as possible in working for myself? Surely spending time out in the real world with people we care about matters most. But when you plug me into that sweet, sweet Wi-Fi, my judgment seems to evaporate.
The good stuff.
Yeah. Ever your dear fan aspiring to be beyond reproach,
Aww.
Diana. Thank you, Diana.
Yeah.
I wish we had better answers for you, but hopefully this episode will be illuminating.
Yeah. Hopefully these other people who write in and call in have answers for you, because we have nothing.
Yeah. I find it hard to turn off working from home while I'm working for someone else.
Oh,
but working from home while you're working for yourself.
Oof.
That's got to be impossible to turn off.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
The grind is nonstop.
Yeah.
Because you're working for a living. Like, you need to live in New York, and it's such an expensive place. So, yeah, I couldn't imagine.
And I mean, we hadn't said this, but Diana's just starting her own company. So, like, she's trying to get it off the ground, and it's really important to sort of foster that as much as possible, especially in the beginning. So I can't even imagine. But eventually, hopefully things will...
Yeah, things will calm down. But still, it's like the company, it's all on you.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, I don't know how you draw the line,
Yeah.
where you draw the line, but good luck.
Everybody's working for the weekend.
Yeah. My screen time was up 40% according to my phone this morning. I'm like, why you gotta tell me that?
Have you been practicing your outline for the episode on
Maybe.
your phone?
Yeah, I think so.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's Beyond Reproach related.
Okay.
It's not your fault.
Yes, you're right. I was working.
Yes.
Okay. So we have one more voicemail from Joshua at Our Foundations podcast. It's a very podcast heavy episode. I love it.
Hello, my name is Joshua, and I am the host at the Our Foundations podcast, and I would like to chime in on this question of the complicated relationship that we have with technology. I wanted to look at a more macro level for society as a whole, and my main focus is on the relationship between education and entertainment as it relates to technology today. So if you look at the internet and AI and all these types of things, blockchain technology, they have a lot of potential, and they basically open up all of these resources for ages of information and theology and philosophy and political theory and all this kind of stuff, mathematics, science, all this stuff. And we have access to it all. Anyone can access the majority of this information for free, and plenty of us have cheap access for much more, nearly all of it. And so we have the opportunity to educate ourselves in all these different areas as a society and basically further our society along at a rapid pace and with exponential growth. This is a lot of potential and this is a lot of possibility. However, the majority of the people, the individuals that use today's technology, things like the internet and social media, are using it not to build deep relationships or to educate themselves.
You don't know my life.
Topics that really matter, whether it be to life or to themselves or to society as a whole or their job. Instead, they're scrolling through Facebook feeds, they are watching cat videos on YouTube, they are posting random pictures on Instagram, they are playing Farmville or Candy Crush or whatever the case may be. People are entertaining themselves. If they're listening to a podcast, many people listen to things like podcasts on serial killers or audio dramas. Or
he knows your life.
Audiobook, oftentimes it's a fantasy book or romance novel or whatever. And so as a whole, people aren't using this technology for what it has the potential to be. Instead, they're using it to entertain themselves. When I look for a historical parallel, I look at Rome, for example, when the citizenry would be upset about corruption and their government taking too much control and too much power and going in the wrong way, people would start to revolt, they would start to speak out, there would be movements, and the government would then just throw some gladiator games and a festival, and everybody would be happy and they would love their government at that point in time. All because they were entertained. Yeah. They were distracted.
It was their Netflix.
This is not really a good thing, in my opinion. The same could be true of the invention of the printing press and the Reformation after that enabled. Well, that was a big movement towards individual rights and individual access to information and all kinds of stuff like this. However, it pretty much got hijacked by many different groups. It got hijacked by local lords and nobles that wanted to break away from the church and the Holy Roman Empire. It also got hijacked by kings who wanted to solidify their power instead of share that power with the church and with religion, and many other cases here. You even had the church using the printing press for propaganda and to basically call out these reformers as being heretics and all this bad stuff. The printing press was used to print off manuals for how to do a witch hunt and a witch trial. It was used for gossip. It was used for all this stuff that you would think of today as clickbait type information. that's what people were consuming. That's what they wanted, and that's what they were given. They were entertained, and they were controlled. So when we look today at who else is using this technology of the internet and AI and data collection and things like this, you look at the institutions like government and corporations. Well, what are they using it for? Do you think they're using it to entertain themselves and to pass the time? Well, no. And not only do they have access to the information that we do, they have access to much more information, much greater technology, and much more potential. And they are actually using it to institute control. That control takes many forms. You have things like propaganda, things like advertising, things like pushing political agendas and ideologies and starting conflicts between groups and using that to their advantage, trying to influence us to purchase certain things or want certain things or vote a certain way, whatever the case may be. These are all methods of control. And that's what corporations and governments are using this technology for, and doing it quite effectively, I would think. And how at the same time you have individuals using this technology to entertain themselves and pass the time. So if these trends continue, it does not look like technology is actually providing as much good for society as we would think at first look. And it makes me kind of question where we're going and what all this means for us as individuals and for us as a community. So that is just my personal complicated thoughts about technology and the issues and hurdles and problems that have come up and that I see coming up in the future. Thank you for listening.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's like so thoughtful, and it's interesting, the point about providing entertainment as a way to like
dull
get people off your back.
Like, here you go, look over here, smoke and mirrors.
But then our government is currently like trying to make it harder to access the internet with privatizing it, not necessarily make it harder, but just like that's going to be the result if they
I mean, you can't control the internet, but you can flood it with misinformation. I think that's the move that's happening. We're seeing just every day it's chaos. So a lot of things that we should be looking at aren't being seen in all the noise.
I can see his point about like how all this technology isn't proving to be as like good for society as it's being promoted. But at the same time,
it has the potential.
All technology, even like he said, the printing press was always sort of used in the same way. Like we've always tended to like take something that could be so great and so important and then use it for something so silly and mindless. But then if you want information, obviously the printing press made it easier to access information, and the internet makes it easier to access information.
Again, it's a tool. It's about how you use it.
It's about knowing how to use it too. Knowing how to use the internet is a big, I think, especially for older generations, it's hard to be able to understand what is a real source and what is a source that you shouldn't pay attention to because it's clearly bogus.
Yes. There are not Nigerian princes out there. There just aren't.
Well, thank you for all of those messages.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
Happy to have
new podcast friends.
So many podcasts involved this time.
Your friendship bracelets are in the mail.
But also, our good friends of the podcast too.
Annie.
It's so great to hear from everyone. Super thoughtful responses. I think this is going to be a really good episode. I can't wait for this to come out. But it looks like our cocktails are basically empty, so I think that's the end. Thank you so much for listening to Beyond Reproach. This has been Tux Lerzel.
And Stephanie Domingo.
Signing off. Thank you to Tim Clough, our editor, sound engineer, and podfather. We could not do this without him. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Written reviews are especially important. Please tell a friend. Tell two friends. Follow us on social media, Beyond Reproach Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also have a Patreon now if anyone would like to throw us some nickels, show us some love and support for the production of our show. And don't forget, we also have a website, and we now have a merch shop. So
we do.
Get yourself some cool Beyond Reproach rocks glasses or a tote bag or a fridge magnet or something. Something cool.
Something.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye. Toodaloo.